Everything was still inside. My cards, my money, pictures of my grandsons. Who? Who would throw this away?
The nurse's hand trembled as she held out my wallet. Mrs. Patterson. I found this in the hallway trash bin. I don't understand. Who would? I took it from her slowly. My fingers traced the worn leather, the edges soft from 30 years of use. Inside, everything was still there. My driver's license, my credit cards, the photo of my grandson on his first day of kindergarten, his gap-toothed smile looking up at me. Even the $20 bill I kept for emergencies. Nothing was missing. Except my dignity. "Thank you, Lisa," I said quietly. My voice didn't shake. I'd learned long ago not to let it shake. She lingered in the doorway of my room, her young face creased with concern. "Should I report this? I mean, someone threw away your wallet. That's not normal. Not normal." I almost laughed. "It's fine," I told her. "Just a misunderstanding." But it wasn't fine. And it wasn't a misunderstanding, because I had seen the CCTV footage. The director had shown me, thinking I'd want to know, thinking I'd want justice. The camera was grainy, black and white, positioned at the end of the hallway near the nurse's station. But it was clear enough to see the woman walk past the camera at 2:47 p.m., clear enough to see her pause by the trash bin, clear enough to see her glance left, then right, clear enough to see her pull something from her purse and drop it in, clear enough to recognize the woman who had sat at my kitchen table for 30 years, the woman who had called me Mom for 3 decades, the woman who had held my hand at my husband's funeral and promised, "We'll take care of you. Always." My daughter-in-law, Jennifer. Before I continue, let me ask you something. Have you ever trusted someone completely only to discover they were counting down the days until you became inconvenient? If this story sounds familiar, or if you've ever wondered what you would do in my shoes, please subscribe, because what happened next, no one saw coming, not even me. I sat on the edge of my hospital bed, the wallet heavy in my lap. The room was small but clean, pale yellow walls, a single window overlooking the parking lot, a television I never turned on, a chair where visitors sat when visitors came. They used to come often. In the beginning, my son, Michael, his wife, Jennifer, sometimes my grandsons, though teenage boys have better things to do than visit their grandmother in a nursing home. I understood that. I didn't take it personally. But lately, the visits had changed. Michael would sit in that chair, scrolling through his phone, answering emails. "Just a minute, Mom. Work stuff." Jennifer would stand by the window, arms crossed, checking her watch. The conversations grew shorter, the silences longer. And then came the questions. "Mom, have you thought about signing that power of attorney?" "Mom, we really need to talk about your house." "Mom, the lawyer says it would be easier if you just what? Just hand over everything I'd worked for? Just trust them to do the right thing? Just disappear?" I looked down at the wallet again. Such a small thing. Leather and plastic and fading photographs. But it meant something to Jennifer. It meant something important. It meant evidence. Evidence that I was forgetting things, losing things, becoming confused, disoriented, incompetent. Evidence that I needed someone to take care of me. Evidence that I needed a guardian. I had refused to give her my wallet 3 days ago. She had asked sweetly, her voice dripping with concern. "Mom, you don't need this here. Let me keep it safe at home. You know how things get misplaced in these facilities." I had said no, and so she had taken matters into her own hands. My door opened again. Lisa poked her head in, her expression worried. "Mrs. Patterson, are you okay? You've been sitting there for 20 minutes. 20 minutes. Had it been that long? I looked up at her. This kind young woman who had shown me more genuine care in 2 months than my own family had in 2 years. "Lisa," I said slowly, "can I ask you something?" "Of course." "That's CCTV footage. Can I get a copy?" She hesitated. "I'd need to ask the director." "Why do you—" "Because," I interrupted, my voice steady now, certain now, "I'm going to need proof." "Proof of what?" I folded my hands over the wallet, feeling the weight of it. The weight of everything it represented. Proof that I'm not crazy. Proof that I'm not imagining things. Proof that what's happening to me is real. Lisa stepped fully into the room, closing the door behind her. Her voice dropped to a whisper. "Mrs. Patterson, is someone trying to hurt you?" Hurt. Such a simple word for such a complicated thing. "Not hurt," I said softly. "Erase." They say memory is unreliable, that the past reshapes itself every time we touch it, like clay under wet hands. But some memories don't need reshaping. They stay sharp. They stay true. I remember the day I met my husband, Robert, like it was yesterday. I was 23. He was 25. It was a Saturday afternoon at a church picnic, the kind where everyone brought casseroles and the children ran barefoot through the grass. I had worn a yellow dress, not because I was trying to impress anyone, but because it was the only nice thing I owned. Robert had smiled at me across the potato salad table. Not the polite smile people give strangers. A real smile, the kind that reaches the eyes. "You look like sunshine," he had said. It was a terrible line. Absolutely terrible. I married him 8 months later. We didn't have much. Robert worked construction. I worked as a secretary at a law firm. We saved every penny we could, dreaming of a house with a yard, maybe 2 children, a dog. The American dream, modest and achievable. We got the house. A small 2-bedroom with peeling paint and a kitchen that needed work. But it was ours. Every mortgage payment felt like victory. We got 1 child, Michael, born on a Tuesday morning in March, screaming his lungs out, perfect and furious, and ours. Robert had cried holding him. Big, tough Robert with his calloused hands and sun-weathered face, crying like a baby himself. We never got the second child, or the dog, because Robert died when Michael was 12. Heart attack, sudden, no warning. One moment he was mowing the lawn, complaining about the neighbor's tree branches hanging over our fence. The next moment he was gone. The funeral was on a Saturday. The same kind of sunny Saturday we'd met on. I had worn black instead of yellow. Michael had sat beside me, small and silent, his hand gripping mine so tightly I thought my bones might break. "What are we going to do, Mom?" he had whispered. I didn't have an answer. Not then, but I figured it out. I took a second job, weekends at a department store. Folding clothes, smiling at customers, my feet aching in cheap shoes. I worked the law firm during the day, the store on evenings and weekends. I slept 5 hours a night if I was lucky. Michael never went without. He had new school clothes every year. He played Little League. I paid for the uniform, the equipment, the team dues. When he wanted to learn guitar, I bought him a second-hand one and paid for lessons. When he needed a car for college, I sold Robert's old truck and gave him the money. "Mom, you don't have to do this," he'd said, guilt written all over his face. "I want to," I'd told him. And I meant it, because that's what parents do. We sacrifice, we give, we break ourselves into smaller and smaller pieces and hand them out, hoping it's enough. It was enough. Michael graduated college, got a good job in accounting, met Jennifer at a company Christmas party, brought her home 6 months later, nervous and excited, his hand clasped in hers. "Mom, this is Jennifer," She's the one. I had liked her immediately. Jennifer was smart, articulate. She had a quick laugh and an easy smile. She asked me questions about myself, about Robert, about how I'd managed as a single mother. She seemed genuinely interested, genuinely kind. At their wedding, she had hugged me tightly. "I'm so lucky to have you as a mother-in-law," she'd whispered. "Michael's told me everything you've done for him, everything you sacrificed. I promise I'll take care of him. And I promise we'll take care of you." I had believed her. Why wouldn't I? When their first son Tyler was born, I was in the delivery room. Jennifer had wanted me there. "You're not just Michael's mom," she'd said. "You're my mom too now." I had held that tiny, wrinkled baby and felt my heart expand in ways I didn't think possible. A grandson. Robert would have loved him. I helped with everything. Night feedings when Jennifer was exhausted. Diaper changes when Michael was at work. I babysat 3 days a week so they could save on childcare costs. When their second son, Brandon, came along 2 years later, I simply adjusted. 2 babies instead of 1. Twice the love, twice the exhaustion. Worth it. I helped financially too. When they wanted to buy a bigger house, I gave them $20,000 from my retirement savings. "Mom, we can't take this," Michael had protested. "But I insisted. It's for my grandsons. I want them to have a yard to play in." When Jennifer wanted to start her own business, a small online boutique, I gave her another $5,000. "Consider it an investment," I'd said. When Tyler needed braces and insurance wouldn't cover it all, I wrote the check. $3,000. When their car broke down, I paid for the repairs. $1,500. I never kept track. I never asked for repayment. They were family. That's what you do for family. The years passed. The boys grew. Michael's career flourished. Jennifer's boutique expanded. They bought an even bigger house, took vacations to Florida, to California, posted pictures on Facebook of beaches and theme parks and perfect, smiling family moments. I was happy for them, genuinely happy. I lived simply. My little house was paid off. My needs were modest. I volunteered at the library, played bridge with friends, watched my grandsons at their soccer games, cheering from the bleachers, the proudest grandmother in the stadium. I thought this was how the story would end, quietly, happily, surrounded by family. I thought I had done everything right. Then came the fall. I was 74, still active, still independent. I had gone to the grocery store on a rainy Tuesday. The parking lot was slick. My foot slipped on a patch of wet leaves near the entrance. I went down hard, my hip taking the impact. The pain was immediate and stunning. A stranger called 911. I remember lying there on the cold pavement, rain dripping on my face, thinking, "This is embarrassing. This is so embarrassing." The hospital said it was a hairline fracture. Not serious, but enough to require careful monitoring. They recommended a rehabilitation facility. "Just for a few weeks," the doctor said, "until you're steady on your feet again." Michael and Jennifer had visited me in the hospital. They'd seemed concerned, attentive. "Don't worry about anything, Mom," Michael had said. "We'll handle everything, your house, your bills, everything. You just focus on getting better." Jennifer had squeezed my hand. "We'll visit all the time, every day if we can." They chose Meadowbrook Rehabilitation Center. It was nice enough, clean, well-staffed. The food was bland but edible. I had my own room. Just a few weeks, I kept telling myself. The weeks turned into months. My hip healed, but slowly. The physical therapist was patient but firm. "Miss S. Patterson, you're doing great, but we need to be cautious. At your age, another fall could be catastrophic. At your age." Those words started appearing more frequently. in medical reports, in conversations with staff, in the way Jennifer looked at me when she visited. At your age, maybe it's time to think about long-term care. At your age, is it safe for you to live alone? At your age, have you considered your options? I had considered my options. I wanted to go home, but they had reasons why I shouldn't. Good reasons, caring reasons. The house was too big for one person. What if I fell again and no one was there? What if I couldn't reach the phone? What if? Mom, we're just worried about you, Michael had said, and I believed him. I believed them both, until the day Jennifer asked for my wallet. Until I said no. Until I found it in the trash. I sat in my room at Meadowbrook, the wallet still in my hands, and I realized something I should have seen years ago. Love has a price. I had paid it willingly, joyfully, without hesitation. But now, the bill was coming due, and they were collecting. Meadowbrook wasn't a bad place. Let me be clear about that. I've heard horror stories about nursing facilities, neglect, abuse, patients left sitting in soiled clothes for hours. Meadowbrook wasn't like that. The staff was professional. The rooms were clean. Meals came on time. There were activities, bingo on Tuesdays, movie nights on Fridays, a book club that met every other Wednesday. It was fine. Perfectly, adequately, soul-crushingly fine. The problem with places like Meadowbrook is that they're designed to keep you comfortable while you wait. Wait for what? That's the question no one asks out loud. Wait to get better. Wait to go home. Wait to die. I tried not to think about it. I focused on my physical therapy. Lisa, the nurse who had found my wallet, became a friendly face I looked forward to seeing. She'd bring me tea, real tea, not the watery stuff from the cafeteria, and we'd talk about her boyfriend troubles, her student loans, her dreams of becoming a nurse practitioner. You remind me of my grandmother, she'd said once. She always listened like she actually cared. I do care, I'd told her. And I meant it. It's funny how you can be surrounded by people, nurses, aides, other residents, and still feel utterly alone. The other residents were kind enough. There was Dorothy, 86, who had dementia but still remembered every word to songs from the 1950s. She'd sing them in the common room, her voice surprisingly strong. There was Harold, a retired postal worker who told the same stories about his mail route over and over. And there was Patricia, who never had visitors, who sat by the window every day watching the parking lot like she was waiting for someone who would never come. I didn't want to become Patricia, so I waited for my family. In those first weeks, they came often. Michael would arrive after work, still in his dress shirt and tie, smelling of cologne and the outside world. He'd sit in the chair by my bed and tell me about his day. Clients, meetings, office politics. I'd listen, grateful for the normalcy of it, the reminder that life continued beyond these walls. Jennifer would come on weekends, usually bringing the boys. Tyler and Brandon would fidget in the doorway, uncomfortable in this place that smelled of antiseptic and old age. They were good boys, polite, but I could see the relief on their faces when their mother finally said, "Okay, time to go. Say goodbye to Grandma." They'd hug me quickly, already thinking about their video games, their friends, their real lives. I didn't blame them. Who wants to spend their Saturday in a nursing home? But then, slowly, things changed. Michael's visits became less frequent, once a week instead of 3 times. Then, every other week. Work's crazy right now, Mom. You understand. I understood. Jennifer's visits changed in a different way. She still came regularly, more regularly than Michael actually, but the quality of those visits shifted. She'd arrive with a specific agenda: papers to sign, forms to review, questions to answer. Mom, we need to talk about your house. We were sitting in the common room. It was a Wednesday afternoon. Pale sunlight filtered through the windows. Dorothy was singing, "K Sarah, Sarah in the corner." Jennifer had brought a folder, the kind with multiple compartments, very organized, very official. "What about my house?" I asked. "Well, you've been here for 3 months now. The doctors say you're improving, which is wonderful, but they also say you might need more time, maybe several more months. And the house is just sitting there, empty. It's my home." Of course it is. I'm not suggesting otherwise. But Mom, think practically. The property taxes are due, the utilities, the maintenance. Last week, Michael had to drive over there because a neighbor called about a leaky gutter. Water damage can be serious and expensive. I felt a knot forming in my stomach. "I'll go home soon." The physical therapist said, "You're making progress. That's not the same as being ready to live independently." Her voice was gentle, patient, the voice you'd use with a child. "We're just worried about you. What if you fall again? What if something happens and you're all alone?" I've lived alone for 20 years. That was before the fracture. Before. She paused, choosing her words carefully. Before age became a factor. Age. That word again. "What are you suggesting?" I asked, though I already knew. Jennifer opened the folder. Inside were printouts, real estate listings, comparative market analyses. She'd done her homework. "We think it might be time to consider selling. The market's good right now. We could get a fair price. The money could go toward your care here or at an assisted living facility. Somewhere nicer maybe. Somewhere with more activities, more independence. Somewhere permanent," she meant. "And if I don't want to sell?" Her smile didn't quite reach her eyes. "Mom, of course it's your decision. We're just trying to help, trying to think ahead. Michael and I have discussed it, and we both agree this would be best." "You discussed it. My house, without me. We're trying to make things easier for you. You've had so much on your plate, you thought you'd decide for me." The words came out sharper than I intended. Jennifer's expression flickered. Surprise. Then something else. Annoyance? Resentment? It passed so quickly I almost thought I'd imagined it. "Of course not," she said smoothly. "Nothing gets decided without your consent. I just wanted to present the options. So you could think about it." She left the folder on my lap when she went. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in my narrow bed, listening to the sounds of Meadow Brook at night, the hum of fluorescent lights, footsteps in the hallway, someone coughing in the next room, the distant beep of a call button. I thought about my house, the house Robert and I had bought, the house where Michael had learned to ride a bike in the driveway, the house where I'd hosted every Christmas, every Thanksgiving, every birthday party. The house filled with memories that only I could see. They wanted me to sell it. No, they wanted me to agree to sell it while they did the actual work, while they controlled the process, while they decided what happened to the money. For my own good, of course. Always for my own good. The next visit was worse. Jennifer came alone on a Tuesday. She had another folder. This one was labeled Estate Planning. "Mom, have you given any thought to power of attorney?" We were in my room. She sat in the visitor's chair, the folder balanced on her knees. She was wearing a blouse one recognized. I'd bought it for her 2 birthdays ago. Expensive silk! She'd hugged me and said it was too much, but I'd insisted. Looking at her now, I wondered if she'd worn it deliberately. A reminder, a guilt trip. "I have power of attorney documents already," I said. "From years ago. Michael is listed." "Right, but those are old, and they're limited. We're talking about a broader arrangement, medical decisions, financial decisions, legal decisions, especially given your current situation. My current situation, your health, Mom. The fall, the fracture. The doctors have mentioned that recovery at your age can be complicated. Cognitive decline is common, memory issues, confusion. My hands tightened on the bedsheet. I'm not confused. Of course not. But these things can happen gradually. That's why it's important to plan ahead, to make sure someone you trust can make decisions if you're unable to. I'm able. Now, yes. But what about 6 months from now? A year? Mom, I'm not trying to upset you. I'm trying to protect you. Protect me. That phrase was starting to feel like a threat. Who would have power of attorney? I asked, though I already knew the answer. Michael, primarily. But we thought it would be smart to list me as secondary. That way, if Michael's traveling for work or unavailable, I can step in. Make sure your bills get paid, your medical needs are met, that kind of thing. She made it sound so reasonable, so practical. I need to think about it, I said. Her smile tightened. Just a fraction. Just enough. Of course, take your time, but don't wait too long. These things can take weeks to process, and you never know when you might need them. She left the folder. I threw it in the trash after she left. 2 days later, Michael called. Not visited, called. Mom, Jennifer told me you're hesitant about the power of attorney. I don't understand why. Because I don't need one. Mom, be reasonable. What if something happens? What if you have another fall or a stroke or... Then we'll deal with it when it happens. That's not how this works. By the time something happens, it's too late to plan. We're trying to be responsible. We're trying to think ahead. You're trying to take control. Silence. Long and heavy. That's not fair, he finally said. His voice was cold, hurt. After everything we've done for you, all the time we've spent making sure you're okay, making sure you're taken care of. And this is how you respond? Guilt crashed over me. Immediate and overwhelming. Because he was right, wasn't he? They had been there. They had helped. They were trying. Wasn't I being ungrateful? Wasn't I being difficult? I'm sorry, I heard myself say. I didn't mean it like that. Just think about it, okay? For us. For your grandsons. Don't you want to make sure they're protected if something happens to you? After we hung up, I sat in silence. That's how they do it, I realized. Not with force, not with anger, with guilt, with concern, with love twisted into something that looks like care but feels like a cage. 3 weeks after the power of attorney conversation, Jennifer asked for my wallet. It was a Saturday morning. She'd come alone again. The boys had soccer games. Michael was working. It was just the two of us. She'd brought me a latte from my favorite coffee shop. A treat. I'd thanked her, touched by the gesture. We'd talked about nothing important. The weather, a movie she'd seen, Tyler's grades. Then, casually, as if it had just occurred to her, Mom, you know, I've been thinking. You keep your wallet in your purse, right? But do you really need it here? I mean, the facility handles everything. You don't need cash or credit cards. And it's risky. Things go missing in places like this. Staff, visitors, other residents. You never know. I like having it with me, I said. I understand. But what if it gets lost? What if someone takes it? Your ID, your credit cards, your Medicare card. Replacing all of that would be such a hassle. Why don't you let me keep it safe at home? I'll bring it whenever you need it. There was a logic to what she was saying. A reasonable, practical logic. But something in me resisted. I prefer to keep it, I said. Her expression shifted, just for a moment. A flash of something dark before the pleasant mask returned. Mom, I'm just trying to help. I know, and I appreciate it. But I want to keep my wallet. She didn't push. Not then. She finished her coffee, kissed my cheek, and left. But I saw it. That look. That flash of anger, frustration, calculation. And I knew. I knew this wasn't over. 3 days later, my wallet disappeared. I'd kept it in my purse, which I kept in the top drawer of the small dresser in my room. I checked it every morning, a habit from years of living alone, of being responsible for myself. Tuesday morning, it was gone. I searched everywhere: the drawer, the closet, under the bed, in the bathroom. I asked Lisa if she'd seen it during her rounds. I asked the cleaning staff. No one had seen anything. I knew I hadn't misplaced it. I knew. That afternoon, Jennifer called. Her voice was bright, cheerful. "Hi, Mom. Just checking in. How are you feeling? My wallet is missing." A pause. "Missing? Oh no. When did you last see it?" "Saturday. When you visited." Well, these things happen in facilities. Like I said, things go missing. Have you asked the staff? Yes. I'm sure it'll turn up. Try not to worry. Do you need anything? Cash? I can bring you some. I didn't answer. "Mom, I didn't lose it," I said quietly. "Of course you didn't. I'm not saying you did. These places are chaotic. Someone probably picked it up by accident. It happens." After we hung up, I sat on my bed and I knew exactly what had happened. I knew who had taken it. And I knew why. I just didn't have proof. Not yet. Lisa found my wallet on a Wednesday afternoon. I was in physical therapy when she texted me. Yes, texted. She'd given me her number weeks ago, saying, "Just in case you need anything and I'm not on shift." I hadn't expected to use it, but there it was, buzzing in my pocket during my leg exercises. "Miss SP found something. Come to nurse's station when you're done." My therapist, Ramon, noticed my distraction. "Everything okay, Miss S. Patterson?" "Yes, fine. Can we finish early today?" He checked my progress chart. "You've hit your targets." "Sure. Ice your hip when you get back to your room." I didn't ice my hip. I went straight to the nurse's station. Lisa was waiting, her face troubled. She gestured for me to follow her into the small office behind the desk, a cramped space with filing cabinets and a desk covered in paperwork. She closed the door. "I found this," she said, reaching into her scrubs pocket. "My wallet." Relief flooded through me, followed immediately by confusion. "Where?" "The hallway trash bin, near the East Wing entrance." She paused. "Miss S. Patterson." It was at the bottom, under used paper towels and food wrappers. Someone didn't just drop it accidentally. Someone buried it. My hands trembled as I took it from her. Everything was still inside. Cards, license, cash. The photo of Tyler. "I don't understand," I said, though I did. I understood perfectly. Lisa sat on the edge of the desk. "I talked to Director Morrison. He pulled the CCTV footage. Would you like to see it?" Would I? Did I want proof of what I already knew? "Yes," I heard myself say. She turned the computer monitor toward me. The footage was grainy, black and white, time-stamped 2:47 p.m. on Saturday. The hallway camera showed the trash bin, the corridor, a slice of the nurse's station. A figure entered the frame. Female, average height, dark hair pulled back in a ponytail, carrying a designer purse I'd seen 100 times. "Jennifer." She paused, glanced both ways. A movement so practiced it looked natural. Then she reached into her purse, pulled something out, and dropped it into the trash bin. Not on top. She pushed it down, her hand disappearing into the bin for several seconds, making sure it was hidden, making sure it would look like I'd thrown it away myself. The footage continued. Jennifer walked away, her gait casual, unhurried. A woman who'd just disposed of trash, nothing more. I watched it 3 times. Lisa watched me. Mrs. Patterson, that's your daughter-in-law, isn't it? Yes. Why would she? To make me look incompetent. The words came out flat, matter of fact, to make it seem like I'm losing my mind. Lisa's eyes widened. That's abuse. Elder abuse. We need to report this. To who? The police? My own family? I looked at her. What would I say? My daughter-in-law threw away my wallet because she wants everyone to think I have dementia? The footage shows her throwing something away. Not what. She could say it was her own trash, that she didn't realize what she was doing, that it was an accident. I closed my eyes. And even if it shows guilt, what then? I accuse my son's wife of trying to gaslight me? You think he'll believe me over her? The silence stretched between us. What are you going to do? Lisa finally asked. I opened my wallet, checked one more time that everything was there. I'm going to be very, very careful. I should have been more careful from the beginning, because after the wallet incident, things escalated. Small things at first, things that could be explained away, things that made me question my own perception. My reading glasses went missing. I found them 3 days later in the common room, on a table I never sat at. Had I left them there? I didn't remember. But then again, I was 74. Maybe I had forgotten. A book I was reading disappeared from my nightstand. It turned up in Dorothy's room. Dorothy, who had dementia, who sometimes picked up items thinking they were hers. The staff apologized. It happens. The residents sometimes get confused. But I hadn't given Dorothy my book. I was certain of it. My favorite sweater, the blue cardigan Robert had bought me for our 30th anniversary, vanished from my closet. I asked the laundry service. They had no record of it. Probably misplaced, the attendant said. Check your drawers. It wasn't in my drawers. A week later, I got a call from my bank. Fraudulent activity on my credit card, small charges, coffee shops, gas stations, online purchases. Nothing major, but enough to trigger their fraud alert. We're canceling the card and issuing a new one, the representative said. Has your card been stolen? No, I said slowly. It's in my wallet. Well, someone's been using the number. Maybe it was skimmed? We'll investigate. They canceled the card. They'd send a new one to my home address, the house I hadn't lived in for 4 months. I called Michael to intercept it. I'll pick it up, Mom, he said. Don't worry about it. Can you bring it to me this week? I'm traveling for work. Jennifer can bring it. I'd prefer if you... Mom, what's the difference? Jennifer comes by all the time. She'll get it to you. What could I say? That I didn't trust his wife? That I thought she was stealing from me, gaslighting me, systematically dismantling my autonomy? He'd think I was paranoid. He'd think I was losing it. Maybe that was the point. Jennifer came on Saturday. She had my new credit card still in its sealed envelope. She handed it to me with a smile. Here you go. Safe and sound. Thank you. Mom, about those fraudulent charges, have you been giving your card number to anyone? Online shopping? Phone orders? No, I don't shop online. Well, it's worrying. Identity theft is so common, especially for seniors. They target older people because she caught herself. Sorry, I didn't mean it like that, but she did. She sat down, smoothing her skirt. Actually, I'm glad we have a moment alone. I wanted to talk to you about something. Here it comes, I thought. The staff mentioned you've been misplacing things. Your glasses, your book, your sweater. And now the credit card issue. Mom, I'm worried. These kinds of memory problems, they can be early signs of... I'm not misplacing things. My voice was sharper than I intended. They're being moved. Or taken. Jennifer's expression shifted to one of gentle concern. The same expression you'd give a confused child. Mom, who would take your things? The staff here is vetted. The other residents are, I don't know who, but I know I'm not losing my mind. Of course not. No one's saying that. But memory issues are normal at your age. There's no shame in it. In fact, that's why I think we should consider getting you evaluated, just to establish a baseline, so we know what we're dealing with. Evaluated. A cognitive assessment. It's routine. The doctor can. I don't need an assessment. Mom. Her voice was patient, condescending. I understand this is frightening. Admitting you need help is hard, but we're family. We love you. We want what's best for you. And if you're having memory issues, we need to know. For your safety. For your care. I stared at her. At this woman I'd welcomed into my family. This woman I'd helped financially, emotionally, practically. This woman who'd called me mom and promised to take care of me. This woman who was trying to erase me. I'm not having memory issues, I said quietly. Then the assessment will prove that. Don't you want to prove it? It was a trap. Either I agreed to the assessment and risked a diagnosis, real or manufactured, that would give them ammunition, or I refused and looked like I had something to hide. I'll think about it, I said. Jennifer's smile didn't waver. Don't think too long. Michael and I have already scheduled an appointment with a specialist, Dr. Chen. He's excellent. The appointment's in 2 weeks. I'll drive you. Already scheduled. Without asking me. What if I refuse to go? Why would you refuse? Unless you're afraid of what he'll find. She leaned forward, her voice dropping. Mom, I'm trying to help you. We all are. But you have to let us. You have to stop being so stubborn. Stubborn, difficult, ungrateful. The words were piling up. After she left, I sat in my room and I thought about gaslighting. The term comes from an old movie. A husband manipulating his wife into believing she's insane, dimming the gaslights and pretending nothing's changed, making her question her own perception until she breaks. That's what Jennifer was doing. Slowly, methodically, brilliantly. And she was winning. The next incident happened 3 days later. I woke up at 2 a.m. to the sound of alarms. Fire alarms, blaring, urgent, terrifying. The hallway filled with staff and residents. Some in wheelchairs, some using walkers, all of us being herded toward the nearest exit. The night nurse, a kind woman named Angela, helped me into my robe and slippers. Just a precaution, Mrs. Patterson. Probably a false alarm. We waited outside in the parking lot. October air, cold and sharp. I shivered in my thin robe. Dorothy was crying. Harold kept asking what was happening. Patricia stood alone, as always, staring at nothing. 20 minutes later, the fire department gave the all clear. False alarm, smoke detector malfunction in the kitchen. We filed back inside. I went to my room. My door was open. I always closed my door at night. Always. My heart pounding, I stepped inside and turned on the light. Everything looked normal. My bed, rumpled from when I'd climbed out. My nightstand. My dresser. But something felt wrong. I checked my wallet. Still in my purse. Cards all there. I checked my drawers. Clothes undisturbed. I checked. My documents. I kept important documents in a folder in the bottom drawer. My birth certificate, Robert's death certificate, the deed to my house, insurance papers, the original copy of my will. The folder was there, but when I opened it, the deed was missing. Just the deed, nothing else. My hands shook as I searched. Maybe I'd moved it. Maybe I'd put it somewhere else. But I hadn't. I knew I hadn't. Someone had come into my room during the fire alarm. Someone had gone through my belongings while I was standing in the parking lot, cold and vulnerable. Someone had taken the deed to my house. I wanted to scream. I wanted to cry. I wanted to call the police, the director, anyone who would listen. But I didn't. Because I had no proof, no witnesses, no evidence beyond my own certainty. And my certainty was exactly what Jennifer was working to destroy. I didn't sleep that night. At 6 a.m., I called the one person I thought might believe me. Lisa answered on the third ring, her voice groggy. "Mrs. Patterson? Is everything okay?" "No," I said. "Nothing is okay." She arrived at Meadowbrook 2 hours later, still in jeans and a sweatshirt, her hair in a messy bun. She was off duty. She'd come anyway. We sat in the small courtyard behind the facility. Morning sun, birds chirping, the illusion of peace. I told her everything. The wallet, the missing items, the credit card fraud, Jennifer's push for a cognitive assessment, the missing deed. Lisa listened without interrupting. When I finished, she said, "We need to report this." "To who?" "Director Morrison, the police, Adult Protective Services." "And tell them what?" "That my daughter-in-law is trying to make me look incompetent so she can control my assets?" "Based on what evidence?" "A CCTV video that shows her throwing away trash? Items that went missing during a fire alarm when anyone could have entered my room?" "The pattern isn't proof. It's circumstantial. It's the word of an elderly woman in a nursing home against her own family." I looked at her. "Do you know what they'll say? They'll say I'm paranoid, delusional. They'll say, this is exactly why I need a cognitive assessment." Lisa was quiet for a moment. Then, "What about a lawyer?" "I don't have one. You need one. Someone who specializes in elder law. Someone who can protect your assets, review your existing documents, make sure everything's in order." "How do I find someone like that?" "I'll help you." She pulled out her phone. "My aunt went through something similar. Not as bad as this, but similar. She used a lawyer named Margaret Foster. I'll get you her number." Hope flickered. "Small but real." "Lisa," I said, "why are you helping me?" She looked surprised. "Because it's the right thing to do. You barely know me." "I know enough." She reached over and squeezed my hand. "You're kind. You're sharp. You don't deserve this. And I'll be damned if I stand by and watch someone abuse you." I started to cry then. Not loud, dramatic sobs, just quiet tears of relief and gratitude and exhaustion. Someone believed me. Someone was on my side. It wasn't much, but it was something. That afternoon, I called Margaret Foster. Her assistant scheduled a consultation for the following Monday. "Miss Foster will come to Meadowbrook," she said. "Given your circumstances, she prefers to meet clients in their current environment." I hung up, feeling something I hadn't felt in months. Not hope, exactly, but the possibility of it. Michael called that evening. His voice was tense. "Mom, Jennifer told me about your conversation. About the cognitive assessment. What about it?" "She said you were hostile. Accusatory." "I wasn't hostile. I told her I don't need an assessment." "But you do. Mom, things have been going missing. You've been confused. The credit card fraud? I'm not confused." "Then why are you fighting this? If there's nothing wrong, the assessment will prove it. And if the doctor says there is something wrong? Even if there isn't, what then?" Silence. "Mom, what are you implying?" "I'm implying that this assessment isn't for my benefit. It's for yours and Jennifer's." "That's ridiculous. We're trying to help you." "Are you? Or are you trying to take control?" His voice went cold. "I don't know what's gotten into you, but this paranoia, these accusations, this isn't like you. Maybe you need more than a cognitive assessment. Maybe you need to talk to someone. A therapist." "Michael, I have to go. I'll call you later." He hung up. I sat holding the phone, my son's words echoing. This isn't like you. But what was I like? Compliant? Grateful? Easy to manage? Maybe that was the problem. Maybe I'd been too easy for too long. Sunday morning, Jennifer came alone. She brought flowers, lilies, my favorites. Peace offering, she said, setting them on my nightstand. I feel like we got off on the wrong foot yesterday. I'm sorry if I came across as pushy. I'm just worried. I know. Do you? Because I'm starting to feel like you don't trust me. Like you think I have some kind of ulterior motive. Her eyes searched mine. Mom, I love you. You're family. Why would I ever want to hurt you? It was a genuine question. Or it sounded genuine. I almost believed her. Almost. I don't know, I said honestly. She sat down, her expression earnest. Can I be really honest with you? Please. I'm scared. Michael's scared. We're watching you decline, and you won't admit it. The missing items, the confusion, the hostility, these are textbook signs of cognitive decline. And I get it. I get that it's terrifying to face, but ignoring it won't make it go away. I'm not declining. Mom. She reached for my hand. I let her take it. I found your sweater. My heart skipped. Where? In the kitchen pantry. Behind the cereal boxes. Do you remember putting it there? No, because I didn't. Then how did it get there? I don't know. But I didn't put it there. Jennifer's expression was kind, pitying. This is what I'm talking about. You're absolutely certain you didn't do something, but the evidence says otherwise. That's memory loss. That's confusion. That's why we need Dr. Chen to evaluate you. I pulled my hand away. Did you take the deed to my house? She blinked. What? The deed? To my house. It's missing from my documents. Someone took it during the fire alarm. Mom, I wasn't even here during the fire alarm. I was at home with the boys. Check the visitor log if you don't believe me. Then who took it? Maybe you moved it. Maybe it's misfiled. Or maybe, she hesitated, maybe someone on staff. I hate to say it, but theft does happen in facilities like this. But only the deed was taken. Nothing else. Then maybe it fell out. Maybe it got mixed in with other papers. Mom, there are a dozen explanations that make more sense than someone deliberately stealing one specific document. She was right. Her logic was airtight, which is what made it so dangerous. The cognitive assessment is in 8 days, she said, standing. I really hope you'll cooperate. For your sake. For ours. Please think about it. After she left, I lay down on my bed and stared at the ceiling. Margaret Foster couldn't come soon enough. Margaret Foster was not what I expected. I'd pictured a stern woman in a power suit, maybe mid-50s, all business and no warmth. The kind of lawyer you see on TV shows, cold and calculating. Instead, Margaret Foster was 68 years old, with silver hair cut in a practical bob and laugh lines around her eyes. She wore slacks and a comfortable blazer. She reminded me of a retired teacher, someone who'd seen enough of life to know when people were lying. She arrived at Meadowbrook on Monday morning at 10 a.m. sharp. Lisa had arranged for us to use the small conference room, a space usually reserved for family meetings with medical staff. It had a table, 6 chairs, and a window overlooking the garden, private enough for what we needed to discuss. Margaret shook my hand firmly. Mrs. Patterson, thank you for reaching out. Before we begin, I want you to know that everything you tell me is confidential. Attorney-client privilege. Whatever you say stays between us. Thank you. She pulled out a legal pad and a pen. Old school. No laptop, no tablet. Tell me what's happening. Start from the beginning. So I did. I told her about the fall, the fracture, moving into Meadowbrook, Michael and Jennifer's initial concern that gradually shifted into control, the requests for power of attorney, the push to sell my house, the missing wallet, the missing items, the missing deed, the credit card fraud. Jennifer's insistence on a cognitive assessment. Margaret took notes steadily, her expression neutral. When I finished, she looked up. Do you have any documentation? Proof of what you've described? CCTV footage of Jennifer disposing of my wallet. Lisa, she's a nurse here. She can verify that. Good. What else? Bank statements showing the fraudulent charges. The police report from the fire alarm, though I don't know if that helps. It establishes a timeline. What about your legal documents? Your will, your power of attorney, the deed to your house? My will is still in my possession. My old power of attorney lists Michael, but it's limited in scope. The deed is missing. When was the last time you saw it? The day before the fire alarm. I check my important documents weekly. It was there. Margaret made another note. And you believe Jennifer took it during the evacuation? Yes. But I can't prove it. Circumstantial evidence can still be compelling. She set down her pen. Mrs. Patterson, I'm going to be direct with you. What you've described is a pattern of financial exploitation and psychological abuse. It's more common than you might think. Adult children, or their spouses, who view their elderly parents as obstacles to inheritance. They use subtle coercion, gaslighting, and legal manipulation to gain control of assets. Hearing it stated so plainly was both validating and terrifying. Can you stop them? I asked. I can help you protect yourself, but I need your cooperation. First, we need to establish your cognitive capacity definitively, not through a doctor Jennifer chooses, but through an independent evaluation. I work with a neuropsychologist who specializes in these cases, Dr. Sarah Kim. She's excellent, and her reports hold up in court. Court? I hope it doesn't come to that. But if Jennifer and Michael are pursuing guardianship or conservatorship, which, based on what you've told me, seems likely, we need to be prepared. A clean bill of cognitive health from Dr. Kim will make it much harder for them to challenge your competence. My hands were shaking. I clasped them together. What else? We review all your legal documents. Make sure your will is up to date and reflects your current wishes. Create a new, robust power of attorney that explicitly revokes any previous versions. Set up a trust if necessary to protect your assets. And we get you out of here. Out of Meadowbrook? You said yourself, you're physically recovered. The only reason you're still here is because they want you here. It's easier to control you when you're isolated. We need to get you back into an environment where you have autonomy. My house. We'll deal with your house. But first, we need to secure your legal standing. Can you do that? Can you commit to fighting this? I thought about the woman I used to be. The woman who'd worked 2 jobs to raise her son. The woman who'd buried her husband and kept going. The woman who'd sacrificed everything for her family. That woman wouldn't have hesitated. Yes, I said. I can fight. Margaret smiled. Good, because they're counting on you not to. Dr. Sarah Kim came to Meadowbrook 2 days later. She was younger than I expected, maybe 40, with kind eyes and a calm demeanor. She spent 3 hours with me, conducting a battery of tests: memory, problem solving, language, attention, processing speed. Some tests were easy: reciting lists of words, identifying patterns, answering questions about current events. Some were harder: complex math problems, multi-step instructions, remembering sequences. By the end, I was exhausted. How did I do? I asked. Dr. Kim smiled. I can't give you results today. I need to score everything and write my report. But I can tell you that you performed very well. Your cognitive function is entirely normal for your age. Better than normal, actually. You have no signs of dementia, no signs of significant memory impairment, no signs of confusion or disorientation. Relief washed over me. You'll put that in writing? Absolutely. I'll have the full report to Margaret by Friday. After she left, I allowed myself a moment of hope. I wasn't crazy. I wasn't losing my mind. I had proof. Jennifer called that evening. "Hi, Mom. Just checking in. How are you feeling?" "Fine." "Good. Listen, I wanted to confirm. Your appointment with Dr. Chen is this Friday at 2 p.m. I'll pick you up at 1:30. Dr. Chen. The cognitive assessment Jennifer had scheduled. The one I'd never agreed to. "I'm not going," I said. Silence. Then, "Excuse me? I'm not going to that appointment. I've already been evaluated by an independent specialist. I'm cognitively healthy." More silence. Longer this time. When Jennifer spoke again, her voice was careful, controlled. "What specialist?" "That's not your concern. Mom, if you're making medical decisions, Michael and I need to know. We're your family. We're responsible for—" "You're not responsible for me. I'm responsible for myself." "Who arranged this evaluation? Was it that nurse, Lisa?" Her tone sharpened. "Mom, she's been filling your head with paranoid ideas. Can't you see that? She's manipulating you." "No one's manipulating me." "Then why are you suddenly so hostile? So suspicious? This isn't like you. The mom I know would never—" "The mom you know was convenient to control. Maybe you don't like the real me." I heard her sharp intake of breath. "I don't know what's happened to you, but Michael needs to hear about this. This paranoia, this hostility. It's proof that something's seriously wrong." She hung up. 10 minutes later, Michael called. "Mom, what the hell is going on?" "I hired a lawyer." "You what?" "I hired an elder law attorney. Her name is Margaret Foster. She's helping me protect my assets and my autonomy." "Protect them from what? From us? From your own family?" "If necessary, yes." This is insane. Do you hear yourself? You sound paranoid, delusional. This is exactly why you need help. I had an independent cognitive evaluation. I'm mentally sound. The report will prove it." "What report? Who evaluated you? Some quack Lisa found?" "A licensed neuropsychologist, Dr. Sarah Kim. You can look her up. She's legitimate." Michael was quiet for a moment. When he spoke again, his voice was cold. "You've made your position clear, but understand this. Jennifer and I have been trying to help you. We've sacrificed our time, our energy, our money to make sure you're safe. And this is how you repay us. With accusations and lawyers? I never asked you to sacrifice anything. You didn't have to ask. We did it because we love you, because that's what family does. But apparently, that means nothing to you. Michael, I'm done. You want to handle everything yourself? Fine. Don't call us when you need help. Don't come crying to us when your paranoid fantasies fall apart." He hung up. I sat in the silence of my room, my hands trembling. I'd just lost my son. Maybe I'd lost him a long time ago. Maybe I'd never really had him at all. Lisa found me an hour later, sitting in the dark. She knocked softly. "Mrs. Patterson? Can I come in?" "Yes." She turned on the lamp, illuminating my face. Whatever she saw there made her sit down immediately. "What happened?" I told her about the phone calls, Michael's anger, Jennifer's accusations. Lisa listened, her expression hardening. "They're scared." "Scared? You're not playing along anymore. You hired a lawyer. You got an independent evaluation. You're taking back control. That scares them because it means they're losing their leverage. I've lost my son." "No, you've lost the version of your son who was willing to let his wife abuse you. The real Michael, the one you raised, is still in there somewhere. But right now, he's choosing her over you. And that's on him, not you. It hurts." "I know." She reached over and squeezed my hand. "But you're doing the right thing. I promise you that." What if I'm wrong? What if they really were just trying to help, and I've ruined everything, Mrs. Patterson? Lisa's voice was firm. Someone who's genuinely trying to help doesn't throw your wallet in the trash, doesn't schedule medical appointments without your consent, doesn't try to take control of your assets while you're still capable. That's not help, that's abuse. I knew she was right, but knowing didn't make it hurt less. Friday morning, Margaret called. I have Dr. Kim's report. It's excellent, clear, detailed, and definitive. Your cognitive function is normal. I'm sending a copy to the director of Meadowbrook and keeping the original in my files. What happens now? Now we go on offense. I'm drafting a new power of attorney that explicitly revokes any previous versions and names someone other than Michael as your agent. Do you have anyone you trust? A friend? A distant relative? I thought about it. My friends were all elderly themselves. My relatives were scattered and distant. What about a professional? A bank or a trust company? That's an option. It's neutral and can't be accused of undue influence. I'll set it up. What about my house? The missing deed? I've already requested a replacement from the county recorder's office. It'll take a few weeks, but we'll have it. In the meantime, I'm filing a notice with the recorder that you're the sole owner and that any attempt to transfer the property without your explicit written consent is fraudulent. Can they still try to get guardianship? They can try. But with Dr. Kim's report, they'd have a very hard time succeeding. Guardianship requires proof of incapacity. You've proven the opposite. Relief flooded through me. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. This is just the beginning. Be prepared. Things are going to get worse before they get better. When people feel cornered, they escalate. She was right. I just didn't know how much. That evening, I got a call from Tyler, my oldest grandson. Grandma? It's Tyler. Tyler! My heart leaped. I hadn't spoken to him in weeks. How are you, sweetheart? I'm okay. Grandma, Mom, and Dad wanted me to call you. They said you've been acting weird, that you hired a lawyer, and you're accusing them of stuff. My heart sank. They were using my grandson, Tyler. I'm not acting weird. I'm just protecting myself. From Mom and Dad? Grandma, that doesn't make sense. They love you. They talk about you all the time. They're worried about you. I know they are. But sometimes worry looks like control. Sometimes people who love you can still hurt you. But they wouldn't. He paused. Grandma, are you okay? Like, mentally? Mom said you might have Alzheimer's or something. I don't have Alzheimer's. I had an evaluation. I'm fine. Then why are you doing this? Why are you pushing everyone away? How do you explain elder abuse to a 15-year-old? How do you tell him that his mother is trying to steal from you without destroying his relationship with his parents? Tyler, I love you. I love your brother. I love your dad. But right now, I need to take care of myself. Can you understand that? I guess. But, Grandma, everyone's really upset. Mom's been crying. Dad barely talks. It feels like you're tearing the family apart. I closed my eyes. I'm sorry you're in the middle of this. Are you going to come to my birthday party next month? I don't know if I'm invited. Of course you're invited. You're my grandma. But after we hung up, I wondered, was I still his grandma if I was fighting his parents? Was I still part of the family if I was defending myself against them? Saturday morning, I got my answer. A courier arrived at Meadowbrook with a certified letter from Michael and Jennifer's attorney. Inside was a petition for guardianship and conservatorship. They were trying to legally declare me incapacitated. They were trying to take everything. And according to the court date, I had 3 weeks to fight back. The petition was 8 pages long, legal language, cold and clinical. But the message was clear. Petitioners, Michael Patterson and Jennifer Patterson, hereby request the court to appoint them as legal guardians and conservators of respondent Eleanor Patterson, on the grounds that the respondent lacks the capacity to care for herself and manage her financial affairs. I read it 3 times, sitting at the small table in my room. Each time, the words felt more surreal. They'd listed evidence of my incapacity, repeated instances of misplacing personal items, fraudulent charges on credit card, indicating inability to manage finances, hostile and paranoid behavior toward family members, refusal of necessary medical evaluation, current residence in long-term care facility due to inability to live independently. Each point was a distortion, a lie wrapped in truth. Yes, items had gone missing because Jennifer took them. Yes, there were fraudulent charges because someone stole my card information. Yes, I'd refused their evaluation because I got my own. Yes, I lived at Meadowbrook because they'd convinced me it was temporary. But presented like this, on legal letterhead, signed by an attorney named Howard Berkowitz, it looked damning. It looked like I was a confused old woman who couldn't see her own decline. I called Margaret immediately. "I got the petition," I said, my voice shaking. "I know. They copied me on it." "Deep breath, Eleanor. This is expected." "Expected? They're trying to take away my legal rights. And they're going to fail. We have Dr. Kim's evaluation. We have evidence of Jennifer's misconduct. We have your testimony. The burden of proof is on them, not us. They have to prove you're incapacitated. We just have to prove you're not. What do? We file a response. We present our evidence. We go to the hearing and we win." She paused. "But, Eleanor, the first need to warn you. This is going to get ugly. They're going to say things about you, things that will hurt, things that might not be true. Can you handle that?" I thought about everything I'd already endured. The gaslighting, the theft, the isolation, the betrayal. "I can handle it," I said. "Good, because we're about to go to war." Margaret wasn't exaggerating. Over the next 2 weeks, the attacks intensified. First came the affidavits. Michael and Jennifer had submitted sworn statements supporting their petition. I read them in Margaret's office, my hands clenched so tightly my knuckles went white. Michael's affidavit. "My mother has shown increasing signs of cognitive decline over the past year. She forgets conversations. She misplaces items and accuses others of taking them. She has become hostile and paranoid, particularly toward my wife, who has devoted countless hours to her care. Recently, she hired an attorney and underwent an evaluation without informing family, which we believe was done specifically to undermine our legitimate concerns for her safety. We are heartbroken by her refusal to accept help, but we cannot stand by and watch her harm herself through poor judgment and failing mental capacity." Jennifer's affidavit. "I have been Eleanor's primary caregiver since her injury. I visit her multiple times per week, handle her paperwork, coordinate with medical staff, and ensure her needs are met. Despite my efforts, she has become increasingly antagonistic. She accused me of stealing her wallet, when in fact, it was found in a trash bin after she discarded it herself. She refuses necessary medical evaluations. She has made wild accusations about family members trying to control her. I believe these behaviors stem from cognitive impairment, and I fear for her safety and well-being." Reading those words, those carefully crafted lies, felt like being stabbed. Margaret watched me. "Breathe. They're lying. Every word is a lie. I know, and will prove it. But they're not done yet." She was right. The next attack came from an unexpected source, Dr. Philip Chen. The doctor Jennifer had chosen for my cognitive assessment, the one I'd refused to see, had submitted a letter to the court. While I did not personally evaluate Miss S. Patterson, I have reviewed her medical records and consulted with family members. Based on this information, it is my professional opinion that Miss S. Patterson exhibits symptoms consistent with early-stage cognitive impairment, including memory loss, paranoid ideation, and impaired judgment. I recommend a comprehensive evaluation and possible guardianship to ensure her safety and appropriate care. He never met me, I said, my voice hollow. How can he give an opinion? He can't, not legally, but he can try to cast doubt. We'll challenge this during the hearing. Dr. Kim actually evaluated you. Her report will carry more weight. What if it doesn't? What if the judge believes them? Margaret leaned forward. Eleanor, listen to me. You are not incapacitated. You're sitting here, understanding complex legal concepts, making informed decisions about your future. That's not someone who needs a guardian. The judge will see that. I promise you. But her promise didn't stop the fear. The attacks weren't just legal. 3 days after the petition was served, I got a call from my cousin, Patricia. We hadn't spoken in months. She lived in Arizona, and we'd drifted apart over the years. Eleanor, I just got the strangest call from Michael. What did he say? He said you're sick, that you have dementia, that you're refusing treatment and making bad decisions. He asked if I'd be willing to testify about your mental state. My stomach dropped. And what did you tell him? I told him I hadn't talked to you in ages, so I couldn't testify to anything. But Eleanor, is it true? Are you sick? No, I'm not sick. Michael and Jennifer are trying to take control of my assets. They're lying to make it happen. Silence. Then, oh, honey, that's awful. Did anyone else call you? Anyone else from the family? No. But if Michael's reaching out to me, he's probably calling everyone, building his case. She was right. Over the next few days, I got calls from people I hadn't heard from in years. Distant relatives, old friends, all of them tentatively asking if I was okay, if I needed help, if the rumors were true. Michael and Jennifer were waging a whisper campaign, spreading the narrative that I was mentally ill, dangerous to myself, in need of intervention. Some people believed them. My old bridge partner Susan called in tears. Eleanor, I heard you're not well. Why didn't you tell me? I would have helped. I am well, Susan. This is all a misunderstanding. But Michael said, Michael is trying to control my finances. Please don't believe everything you hear. Her voice turned uncertain. Oh, I don't know what to think. After we hung up, I realized the damage was done. Even if I won in court, my reputation was destroyed. People would always wonder if maybe, just maybe, I really was losing my mind. Lisa was furious when I told her. They're monsters, she said flatly. We were in my room, the door closed. Absolute monsters. They think they're doing the right thing. Bullshit. They know exactly what they're doing. This isn't about your well-being. It's about money. It's about control. And they're willing to destroy you to get it. She wasn't wrong. Margaret had pulled financial records as part of our case preparation. What she'd found was damning. Michael and Jennifer were in debt. Significant debt. Credit cards maxed out. 2 car loans. A mortgage on a house they couldn't afford. Jennifer's boutique was failing. She'd borrowed heavily to expand and the business was underwater. They needed money. My house, which had appreciated significantly over the years, was worth nearly $400,000. My retirement accounts had another $200,000. My life insurance policy would pay out $250,000 upon my death, nearly $1 million total. 1 million reasons to want me Declared incompetent. A million reasons to push me toward the grave. We're using this at the hearing, Margaret said, tapping the financial records. Motive. Clear, undeniable motive. Will it be enough? Combined with Dr. Kim's report and the CCTV footage? Yes, it'll be enough. 1 week before the hearing, Jennifer came to visit. I hadn't seen her since our phone call. Part of me hoped she wouldn't come. Another part needed to see her face. She arrived on a Tuesday afternoon, dressed impeccably. Professional, put together, the picture of a devoted daughter-in-law. Mom. She sat down in the visitor chair. Can we talk? About all of this. The lawyers, the court date, this whole awful situation. Her eyes were red, like she'd been crying. I don't want to fight you. I never wanted any of this. Then, drop the petition. I can't, because I genuinely believe you need help, and I know you can't see it right now, but someday you'll understand that we were trying to protect you. Protect me by taking away my rights? Protect you by making sure you're safe, by making sure your assets are managed properly, by making sure no one takes advantage of you. She leaned forward. Mom, your lawyer, this Margaret Foster, she's the one taking advantage of you. She's feeding you lies, making you paranoid, driving a wedge between you and your family. Can't you see that? It was masterful, really, the way she turned everything around, made herself the victim, made me the confused one. Jennifer, I said carefully, why did you throw my wallet in the trash? Her expression didn't change. I didn't. There's video footage. There's footage of me throwing away trash, not your wallet. Your wallet went missing because you misplaced it, just like you misplaced your glasses, your book, your sweater. I didn't misplace those things. But you did, Mom. And that's okay. It's not your fault. It's just what happens as we age. There's no shame in it. She was so calm, so reasonable, so convinced of her own narrative, or pretending to be. The hearing is next Tuesday, she continued. You can still stop this. You can agree to a voluntary guardianship arrangement. We don't have to go to court. We can work this out as a family. A voluntary arrangement where you control everything. An arrangement where you're protected, where you're cared for, where you don't have to worry about bills or paperwork or making difficult decisions. Isn't that what you want? To just rest for a moment. I almost believed her, because part of me did want to rest. Part of me was tired of fighting, tired of being vigilant, tired of carrying the weight of my own autonomy. But then I remembered the wallet in the trash, the deed missing from my documents, the lies in the affidavits. No, I said, I don't want to rest. I want to live. Jennifer's expression hardened. Just for a second, just long enough for me to see the mask slip. Then I'll see you in court. She left without another word. The night before the hearing, I couldn't sleep. I lay in my narrow bed, staring at the ceiling, running through worst-case scenarios. What if the judge believed them? What if Dr. Kim's report wasn't enough? What if I lost everything? My house, my money, my freedom? What if I ended up trapped in Meadowbrook forever, with Michael and Jennifer controlling every aspect of my life? At 3 a.m., I gave up on sleep and sat by the window. The parking lot was empty, except for a few staff vehicles. The world outside was dark and quiet, peaceful. I thought about Robert, about what he would say if he could see me now. He'd be furious, not at me, at them, at Michael for betraying his mother, at Jennifer for manipulating the family, at the system that allowed this to happen. But he'd also be proud, because I was fighting, because I hadn't given up, because I was still here, still standing, still myself. I pressed my hand against the cold glass and I made a promise. To Robert, to myself, no matter what happened tomorrow, I wouldn't go down without a fight. They could take my money. They could take my house. They could take everything I owned, but they couldn't take my dignity. That was mine, and I was keeping it. The courthouse was smaller than I expected. Built in the 1970s, all brown brick and narrow windows. The kind of building designed for function, not beauty. Margaret and I arrived 30 minutes early. She'd insisted, "Never be late to your own hearing." We sat on a bench in the hallway outside courtroom 3. Margaret reviewed her notes. I watched people pass by, lawyers in suits, families clustered together, whispering. A woman crying softly while a man patted her shoulder. Everyone here had a story. Everyone here was fighting for something. "Eleanor," Margaret's voice pulled me back. "You ready?" "As I'll ever be." "Remember what we practiced. Answer questions clearly. Don't elaborate unless asked. Stay calm, even if Michael or Jennifer say things that upset you. The judge will be watching your demeanor. We want her to see that you're competent, composed, and fully in control." "What if I'm not in control?" "You will be, because you're strong, and because you're telling the truth." At 9 a.m., the courtroom doors opened. It was a small room, wood-paneled walls, fluorescent lighting, a judge's bench at the front, a witness stand to the side, 2 tables for attorneys, and a gallery with 3 rows of seats. Michael and Jennifer sat at the petitioner's table with their attorney, Howard Berkowitz, a man in his 50s with silver hair and an expensive suit. They didn't look at me. Jennifer kept her eyes down. Michael stared straight ahead, his jaw tight. I sat at the respondent's table with Margaret. My hands were folded in my lap. I kept my breathing steady. The bailiff called. "All rise for the Honorable Judge Sandra Martinez." Judge Martinez was younger than I expected, maybe early 50s, with dark hair pulled back in a bun and sharp, intelligent eyes. She took her seat and surveyed the courtroom. "Please be seated. We're here for the matter of Peterson versus Peterson, case number GCT00-024-1847. Petitioners are seeking guardianship and conservatorship of respondent Eleanor Patterson." She looked at both tables. "Mr. Berkowitz, you may begin." Berkowitz stood. His voice was smooth, practiced. "Thank you, Your Honor. This is a difficult case for everyone involved. The petitioners, Michael and Jennifer Patterson, love Mrs. Patterson deeply. She is a cherished mother and grandmother. But they have watched with growing concern as she has exhibited clear signs of cognitive decline, memory loss, paranoid ideation, impaired judgment. They have tried to help, but Mrs. Patterson has resisted their efforts and has instead become hostile and accusatory. He gestured to the stack of documents on his table. "We have submitted affidavits from Mr. and Mrs. Patterson detailing specific incidents. We have medical opinions from Dr. Philip Chen suggesting cognitive impairment. We have evidence of Mrs. Patterson's inability to manage her finances, including fraudulent charges on her credit card. And we have testimony that will demonstrate that guardianship is not only appropriate, but necessary for her own safety." Judge Martinez nodded. "Miss Foster?" Margaret stood. Her voice was calm and clear. "Your Honor, this case is not about a loving family trying to help an ailing mother. This case is about financial exploitation disguised as concern. Mrs. Patterson is not cognitively impaired. She has been evaluated by a licensed neuropsychologist, Dr. Sarah Kim, whose comprehensive report shows that Mrs. Patterson's cognitive function is entirely normal. What the petitioners call memory loss is actually a pattern of items being deliberately hidden or stolen to create the appearance of incompetence. What they call paranoid ideation is Mrs. Patterson's justified response to actual abuse. We will demonstrate that this petition is baseless and motivated by the petitioner's significant financial problems, which would be solved by gaining control of Mrs. Patterson's considerable assets. Berkowitz's expression tightened, but he said nothing. Judge Martinez made a note. Mr. Berkowitz, call your first witness. The petitioners call Michael Patterson. My son stood and walked to the witness stand. He was sworn in. He sat down, his hands gripping the armrests. Berkowitz approached. Mr. Patterson, how long have you been concerned about your mother's mental health? About a year. Maybe longer. Can you describe specific incidents that caused concern? Michael took a breath. She started forgetting conversations. I'd tell her something, and a few days later she'd ask me the same question. Then she started losing things. Her glasses, her wallet, personal items. She'd accuse us, me and Jennifer, of moving them or taking them, which we never did. How did you respond to these accusations? We tried to be understanding. We knew it wasn't her fault. But it hurt. We were trying to help and she was pushing us away. Did her behavior change in other ways? Yes. She became hostile, suspicious. She refused to let Jennifer help with her finances. She refused medical evaluations. And then she hired a lawyer and got an evaluation without telling us, which felt like she was deliberately trying to undermine our concerns. Berkowitz nodded sympathetically. Mr. Patterson, do you love your mother? Michael's voice cracked. Of course I do. And is this petition motivated by love? By a desire to protect her? Yes, that's all we want, to keep her safe. Thank you. No further questions. Margaret stood. She approached the witness stand slowly. Mr. Patterson, you testified that your mother started forgetting conversations about a year ago. Can you give me a specific example? Michael hesitated. It was general things, day-to-day stuff. I need a specific example. One conversation she forgot. I don't remember exactly. You don't remember the specific conversation that made you concerned enough to seek guardianship? It was a pattern, not one specific thing. I see. Let's talk about the lost items. You said your mother lost her wallet, but you're aware that CCTV footage shows your wife disposing of that wallet in a trash bin, correct? Berkowitz stood. Objection. The footage shows Mrs. Jennifer Patterson disposing of trash. There's no evidence it was the wallet. Margaret turned to the judge. Your Honor, I have the footage queued up. I'd like to play it for the court. Judge Martinez nodded. Proceed. Margaret set up a laptop. The courtroom went dark except for the screen. The footage played, grainy but clear. Jennifer walking down the hallway, pausing at the trash bin, looking around, pulling something from her purse, dropping it in, pushing it down. The courtroom was silent. Margaret turned to Michael. Mr. Patterson, does that look like an accident to you? 1. Jennifer said she was throwing away other items. She didn't realize. What other items? What was she carrying? I don't know. But she wouldn't deliberately throw away my mother's wallet, wouldn't she? Let's talk about your financial situation. You and your wife currently have over $80,000 in credit card debt, correct? Michael's face flushed. That's private. It's relevant. Your wife's business is failing. You have 2 car loans and a mortgage you can barely afford. You need money. And your mother has considerable assets, a house worth $400,000, retirement accounts, life insurance. Isn't that the real reason for this petition? No. That's insulting. Is it? Because if you gain guardianship, you gain control of those assets. You can sell her house, access her accounts, make decisions that benefit you financially. I would never. You already have. You scheduled medical appointments without her consent, pressured her to sign power of attorney documents, told relatives and friends she was mentally ill to isolate her. These aren't the actions of a concerned son. These are the actions of someone planning financial exploitation. Objection! Berkowitz was on his feet. Counsel is badgering the witness. Judge Martinez looked at Margaret. Miss Foster, do you have evidence to support these claims? I do, Your Honor. I'd like to call my next witness. Mr. Berkowitz? Any redirect? No, Your Honor. Michael stepped down. He wouldn't look at me as he returned to his seat. Margaret called Jennifer next. My daughter-in-law walked to the stand, her face composed. She was sworn in. She sat gracefully, hands folded in her lap. Berkowitz kept his questions simple. Jennifer repeated the same narrative: concerned family member, declining mother-in-law, desperate need for intervention. Then Margaret stood. Mrs. Patterson, you testified that you visit Eleanor multiple times per week. Is that correct? Yes. And during those visits, you've helped with paperwork, coordinated care, managed her affairs? Yes. Did Eleanor ask for that help? Jennifer paused. She needed it. That's not what I asked. Did she specifically request your help managing her paperwork and affairs? Not in so many words, but... So the answer is no. You took it upon yourself. I was trying to help. By taking control. Margaret pulled out a document. Your Honor, I'd like to enter Exhibit C. Financial records showing that Jennifer Patterson accessed Eleanor's bank account 3 times in the past 4 months without authorization. Jennifer's face went pale. I had her debit card. She gave it to me. Did she? Or did you take it during one of your visits? She gave it to me. For safekeeping. For safekeeping. Like the wallet you threw in the trash for safekeeping? I didn't. You didn't what? Throw away the wallet? We have video evidence. Didn't access her accounts? We have bank records. Didn't try to manipulate her into signing power of attorney documents? We have her testimony. Jennifer's composure cracked. I was protecting her. From what? From herself. From making bad decisions. From people who would take advantage. People like you? No, I love her. Everything I did was for her benefit. Was it for her benefit when you told Dr. Chen she had dementia without ever having her properly evaluated? I believed. Or was it for your benefit? Because you needed money? Because your business is failing and you saw Eleanor's assets as a solution? That's not true. Then explain the 3 unauthorized withdrawals totaling $7,000. The courtroom went silent. Jennifer's mouth opened, closed, opened again. I was going to pay it back. I borrowed it temporarily for business expenses. She would have said yes if I'd asked, but you didn't ask. You took it. And you planned to take more, didn't you, once you had guardianship? Jennifer's eyes filled with tears. You don't understand. We've sacrificed so much for her. Years of our lives. We deserve... She stopped, but it was too late. You deserve what, Miss S. Patterson? Her money? Her house? What exactly do you think you deserve? Jennifer didn't answer. Margaret turned to the judge. No further questions. After Jennifer stepped down, Margaret called Dr. Kim. The neuropsychologist was professional, articulate, and unshakable. She walked the judge through my evaluation, explaining each test, each score, each conclusion. Mrs. Patterson's cognitive function is entirely normal for her age. She has no signs of dementia, no memory impairment, no confusion or disorientation. She is fully capable of managing her own affairs and making informed decisions. Berkowitz tried to challenge her. But Dr. Chen's assessment, Dr. Chen never actually evaluated Miss S. Patterson. His opinion is based on secondhand information provided by individuals with a financial interest in the outcome. My evaluation was comprehensive, objective, and conducted according to standard neuropsychological protocols. Berkowitz had no response. Finally, Margaret called me. I walked to the witness stand on shaking legs. I was sworn in. I sat down. Margaret smiled at me gently. Mrs. Patterson, in your own words, Please tell the court what's been happening." I took a breath. And I told my story. The fall, the recovery, the slow realization that Michael and Jennifer weren't helping, they were controlling, the missing items, the wallet in the trash, the pressure to sign documents, the missing deed, the accusations of mental illness when I resisted. I spoke clearly, calmly. I didn't cry, though I wanted to. When I finished, Margaret asked, "Do you believe you need a guardian?" "No." "Do you believe your son and daughter-in-law have your best interests at heart?" I looked at Michael, at Jennifer, at the two people I'd loved, trusted, sacrificed for. "No," I said quietly. "I don't." Berkowitz cross-examined me. He tried to rattle me, to make me seem confused or emotional or unstable. I answered every question. I didn't falter. After an hour, he gave up. Judge Martinez called for a recess. We waited in the hallway for 90 minutes while she reviewed the evidence. When we returned, her expression was unreadable. I've reviewed all the evidence presented. I've considered the testimony from both sides. And I've reached a decision. My heart pounded. The petition for guardianship and conservatorship is denied. Relief crashed over me. Margaret grabbed my hand and squeezed. Judge Martinez continued. The evidence does not support a finding of incapacity. Dr. Kim's evaluation was thorough and conclusive. Mrs. Patterson demonstrated competence throughout this proceeding. Furthermore, I am deeply troubled by the evidence suggesting financial exploitation. Mrs. Jennifer Patterson, unauthorized access to someone's bank accounts is theft. Regardless of your relationship, I'm ordering you to repay the $7,000 within 30 days. Jennifer's face went white. Additionally, I'm referring this case to Adult Protective Services for further investigation. If they find evidence of elder abuse, criminal charges may follow. Michael stood. Your Honor. Sit down, Mr. Patterson. I understand this is your mother. I understand you may have had good intentions, but your execution was deeply flawed and legally inappropriate. Mrs. Eleanor Patterson has the right to manage her own life, even if you disagree with her choices. That right is protected by law. She banged her gavel. Case dismissed. I moved out of Meadowbrook 3 days after the hearing. Not back to my house. Not yet. Margaret had found me a place called Silver Haven, an independent living community for seniors. It was nothing like Meadowbrook. Private apartments, full kitchens, a community center with activities, but no one forced you to participate. You could come and go as you pleased. Freedom. I'd forgotten what that felt like. Lisa helped me pack. She folded my clothes while I sorted through documents, deciding what to keep, what to throw away. I'm going to miss you, she said, her voice thick. I'm going to miss you too. You saved my life, you know. You saved your own life. I just believed you. I hugged her. This young woman who'd had no obligation to help me, who'd risked nothing and gained nothing except the knowledge that she'd done the right thing. If you ever need a reference, a recommendation, anything, call me. She smiled through tears. I will. Silver Haven was bright and modern. My apartment was small. 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom, a kitchenette, and a living area. But it was mine. I had my own key, my own mailbox, my own space. The first night, I made myself tea and sat by the window, looking out at the garden below. Flowers bloomed in neat beds. A fountain sparkled in the evening light. An elderly couple walked hand in hand down a path. It was peaceful. It was mine. For the first time in months, I felt like myself. The aftermath of the hearing was complicated. Adult Protective Services did investigate. A caseworker named Maria came to interview me, reviewed the court documents, spoke with Margaret and Dr. Kim. She was professional, kind, and thorough. What happened to you is unfortunately common. she told me. Financial exploitation by family members is one of the most underreported forms of elder abuse. People are ashamed. They don't want to believe their loved ones would hurt them. What happens now? We've opened a case. We're investigating Jennifer's access to your accounts, the missing deed, all of it. If we find sufficient evidence, we'll refer it to the district attorney. They'll decide whether to file criminal charges. And if they do, then Jennifer could face charges for theft, fraud, or elder abuse. Those are serious crimes. I thought about that. Jennifer in handcuffs, a criminal trial, my son watching his wife prosecuted for abusing his mother. I don't know if I want that, I said quietly. Maria nodded. That's your choice. You can decline to press charges. But Eleanor, the first need you to understand, if they did this to you, they might do it to someone else. Another vulnerable family member, another elderly person. Sometimes holding people accountable isn't just about you. She was right. I knew she was right, but the thought of it still hurt. Margaret helped me secure my assets. The new power of attorney was filed, naming a trust company as my agent instead of Michael. My will was updated and stored in a safe deposit box that only Margaret and I could access. The deed to my house was replaced, and we filed liens and notices to prevent unauthorized transfers. You're protected now, Margaret said. They can't touch your assets without your explicit consent. What about my house? What do you want to do with it? I thought about the house, the memories it held. Robert mowing the lawn, Michael learning to ride his bike, Christmas mornings and birthday parties, and ordinary Tuesday evenings. But those memories were ghosts now. The house was just a building. I want to sell it, I said. Use the money to secure my future here. Maybe travel a little. Do things I never got to do when I was busy sacrificing for everyone else. Margaret smiled. Then that's what we'll do. I didn't hear from Michael for 2 weeks after the hearing. Then, on a Sunday evening, my phone rang, his name on the screen. My heart clenched. I almost didn't answer. But I did. Hello? Mom. His voice was strained, tired. Can we talk? About what? About everything. About the hearing. About what happened. I sat down on my small couch. I'm listening. 1. I don't know what to say. I'm angry. I'm hurt. I feel like you chose a stranger, that lawyer, over your own family. Margaret isn't a stranger. She's someone who believed me when you didn't. Because you were saying crazy things. Accusing Jennifer of abuse, of stealing, of all of which was true. Silence. Mom, Jennifer made mistakes. I'm not denying that. The money she borrowed, that was wrong. She should have asked. But she wasn't trying to hurt you. She was trying to help. By throwing my wallet in the trash? By telling everyone I had dementia? By trying to take away my legal rights? She was scared. We both were. We watched you change, become someone we didn't recognize, someone hostile and paranoid, and unwilling to be controlled. Another silence. Longer this time. I don't know how to fix this, he finally said, his voice cracked. You're my mother. I love you, but I also love Jennifer, and I don't know how to reconcile those two things when you're asking me to choose. I'm not asking you to choose, but I am asking you to see the truth. What Jennifer did wasn't help. It was abuse, and you enabled it. I was trying to protect you. You were trying to manage me. There's a difference. He didn't respond. Michael, the first said gently, I love you. I always will. You're my son. But I can't have you in my life if you can't respect my autonomy. If you can't trust that I'm capable of making my own decisions. If you keep treating me like a problem to be solved instead of a person to be heard. So what are you saying? You're cutting me off? I'm saying the door is open, but you have to walk through it honestly. No more lies, no more manipulation, no more treating me like I'm incompetent. If you can do that, we can rebuild. If you can't, then we can't. And Jennifer? I closed my eyes. I can't have a relationship with Jennifer. Not after what she did. That's non-negotiable. She's my wife. I know. And I'm not asking you to leave her. But I am telling you that she's not welcome in my life. You'll have to figure out how to navigate that. That's impossible. Maybe. But it's the only way forward. We sat in silence for a long moment. I need time, Michael finally said, to think, to process. Take all the time you need. I do love you, Mom. I know. I love you too. He hung up. I sat holding the phone, tears running down my face. I didn't know if he'd come back. I didn't know if we'd ever repair what was broken. But I'd told the truth, and sometimes that's all you can do. Tyler called a week later. Grandma, it's Tyler. Hi, sweetheart. Can I come visit you? Mom and Dad said I shouldn't, but I want to see you. My heart swelled. Of course you can, anytime. He came that Saturday, 15 years old, gangly and awkward, with his father's eyes and his grandfather's smile. We sat in the community room at Silverhaven. I'd made cookies, chocolate chip his favorite. He ate 3 before saying anything. Mom and Dad are fighting a lot, he finally said. About you, about money, about everything. I'm sorry you're in the middle of it. Are you really okay? Like, mentally? Yes. I had a full evaluation. I'm fine. Then why did they say you weren't? How do you explain adult motivations to a teenager? How do you tell him that people he loves and trusts are capable of cruelty? Sometimes people convince themselves they're doing the right thing, even when they're not. Your mom and dad were worried about me, but their worry turned into control. And I couldn't let that happen. So you're not coming back? You're not going to be at Thanksgiving, or Christmas, or my birthday? That's up to your parents. If they're willing to respect my boundaries, I'd love to be there. But I won't put myself in situations where I'm not respected. He nodded slowly. That makes sense, I guess. Tyler, I want you to know, this isn't your fault. And you can always call me, visit me, have a relationship with me. That's separate from whatever happens between me and your parents. Really? Really? You're my grandson. I love you. Nothing changes that. He hugged me then, tight and fierce, and I realized he was almost as tall as me now. When had that happened? When had I missed so much while fighting for my own survival? Life at Silverhaven settled into a rhythm. I joined the book club, made friends, real friends, people who chose to spend time with me, not people obligated by blood. I went on outings, short trips organized by the community, museums, gardens, a play at the local theater. I learned to paint, watercolors. I wasn't very good, but I enjoyed it. I started volunteering at the library again, reading to children, helping with literacy programs. I felt useful, engaged, alive. My house sold in November. The market was good, just like Jennifer had said. I got $420,000. After paying off final expenses and Margaret's fees, I had nearly $400,000 left. I put most of it in a trust, safe, secure, untouchable. The rest I spent on myself. A new wardrobe. Nothing fancy, just clothes that fit and made me feel good. A tablet so I could video call Tyler and Brandon. A trip to the coast with 2 women I'd met at Silverhaven, Joan and Denise. We rented a beach house for a week, walked on the sand, ate fresh seafood, laughed about nothing and everything. It was the first vacation I'd taken in 20 years. Christmas came. I wasn't invited to Michael and Jennifer's house. I'd expected that. What I didn't expect was the package that arrived on December 23rd. Inside was a card from Michael, handwritten. "Mom, I've been thinking a lot about what you said, about respect, about autonomy, about seeing you as a person, not a problem. You were right. I was so focused on what I thought you needed that I stopped listening to what you were telling me. I was so convinced you were declining that I ignored all the evidence to the contrary. And I let Jennifer's fears, and yes, her financial problems, cloud my judgment. I'm not asking you to forgive me. Not yet. I know I don't deserve it. But I want you to know that I'm trying. I'm in therapy, working through my own issues about control and fear and loss. Jennifer and I are separated, not divorced, but living apart while we figure things out. I'm learning to see you again, not as my mother who needs me, but as Eleanor, a person who is strong and capable and deserving of respect. I miss you. I hope someday you'll let me back into your life, not as a caretaker or a manager, but as a son. Love, Michael." I read it 3 times. Then I cried. Not from sadness, from hope. Maybe we could rebuild. Maybe it wasn't too late. I spent Christmas with Joan and Denise and a dozen other residents at Silverhaven. We had a potluck, exchanged small gifts, sang carols slightly off-key. It wasn't the Christmas I'd imagined, but it was good. Tyler and Brandon video called me in the morning. They showed me their presents. We talked for 20 minutes. It wasn't much, but it was something. Later that evening, I sat in my apartment and looked at the small tree I'd put up. It was 3 feet tall, pre-lit, probably ridiculous, but it was mine. I thought about the past year, the fall that had changed everything, the months of manipulation and fear, the hearing, the victory, the losses. I thought about what I'd learned. That family isn't always safe. That love can be twisted into control. That sometimes protecting yourself means losing people you care about, but also that you are never too old to fight back. That your dignity is worth defending. That there are people, strangers even, who will believe you and help you and stand beside you. And that starting over, even at 74, is possible. On New Year's Eve, I wrote letters to my grandsons. Long letters, honest letters. Letters they could read when they were older, when they could understand. I told them about their grandfather, about the life we'd built, about the sacrifices I'd made and the mistakes I'd made, and the love that had driven everything. I told them about what had happened this year, not to turn them against their parents, but to help them understand, to give them context, to show them that even in families, even in love, boundaries matter. I told them I was proud of them, that I loved them, that they could always come to me. I sealed the letters and gave them to Margaret to hold. "Give these to them when they're 18, I said, "when they're old enough to understand." She promised she would. January brought snow. I stood at my window watching it fall, fat flakes drifting down, covering the garden in white, beautiful and quiet. I was 74 years old. I'd lost my husband. I'd lost my savings, some of it anyway. I'd lost the relationship with my son, at least temporarily. I'd lost the illusion that family always meant safety. But I'd gained something too. I'd gained myself back. I'd gained the knowledge that I was strong enough to stand alone. I'd gained a community of people who respected me. I'd gained the understanding that my life was mine to live. Not my son's, not my daughter-in-law's, mine. And I was going to live it, on my terms, with dignity, with joy, with hope. This story is based on true events and has been reconstructed. I hope it offers comfort to someone out there. What would you have done in this situation? Please listen to the 2 other stories appearing on your screen now.